A federal judge decided that the case against Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan will go to trial.
Well, this is finally happening. Now, I know it's been a while, but do you guys remember that judge who was arrested by the FBI for allegedly helping an illegal immigrant evade ICE? She is finally going to trial after several months of trying to figure out whether or not she should be going to trial.
What I'm worried about is just the wackos that will believe this story, which is not true. I'm not being investigated by the feds.
And for the first time ever, we have Judge Hannah Dugan's side of the story from police body cam footage. No lawyers, straight from her. We've never seen this before, so we're going to dig into this as well. So it's been about a month since we last talked about Judge Hannah Dugan. So before we start this video, make sure you please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, and it also helps others see the videos as well. And as you can see, when you guys like the video, it's a massive help. So let's dig into it.
Well, Mary, this case against Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan was supposed to go to trial back in July, but the federal judge postponed it. He wanted time to weigh Dugan's ask to throw out the case. Tonight, he rules against her.
So just a quick reminder, if Judge Hannah Dugan wins this court case, it will affect the entire United States as far as how a judge can act in the courthouse. Because if Judge Hannah Dugan's case was dismissed before even going into the trial, this means every other judge can do this.
Say Judge Hannah Dugan deliberately distracted federal agents to help him sneak out of the courthouse. They say this video, which the county released in response to an open records request, shows Judge Dugan purposely sending the agents to the Chief Justice's office to lead them away from Flores-Ruiz. Court documents say she told Flores-Ruiz and his attorney to use a courtroom door that is in an area that is not open to the public, after she learned that the ICE agents were there to nab him.
And by the way, Judge Hannah Dugan in the body cam footage we're going to watch here in a second, she actually talks about why she did all of this. So the point I'm trying to make is the reason why this court case is massive, if the trial did not continue and we just ended right here, every judge in the United States could basically do what Judge Hannah Dugan did on that footage.
When they come in front of me, I'm not supposed to know that.
Days before federal agents arrested her in April, she called the police about another issue. During her conversation, she told MPD about the immigrant case.
And that's what we are about to watch. Again, this is just days before the FBI arrested her, and it looks like she's trying to clear up some misconceptions about what happened in the courthouse. Now, this is all before we saw the footage. This is all before we know some other details. So remember that before we watch the video. Again, we don't hear anything from Judge Hannah Dugan nowadays. Everything goes through her lawyers. So this is the first time we are really hearing what she has to say about all of this. But remember, this is before she was arrested. Hey, real quick, if you haven't already, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can keep you guys up to date with this story. We have been covering it since day one, and I want to make sure you guys are getting all of the relevant facts and the details when it comes to this story. Make sure to please subscribe.
The other thing that I mentioned that happened this afternoon, a talk radio guy started to go on about how the feds were investigating me for an incident last week at the courthouse involving an immigrant.
Okay.
An arrest. And it's all lies, but he's stirring the pot.
Okay.
And it's this, far right wing. Well, then the radio station up north is...
Okay, wow. So here's what's interesting. Either Judge Hannah Dugan is lying right now on camera, or she really had no idea she was being investigated by the federal government. Because as we know, just a few days later, the FBI arrested her.
Connected to it, they picked it up, and then they did an article, and now it's posted on Facebook. And I've had reporters calling me all day.
Okay.
A couple taxpayers are mad that I hid this guy in the jury room. I didn't do anything that they're saying. And they say that Judge Ashley did something. He didn't do what they're saying either. But he's with his family for vacation, so he's not here.
So we don't know if he got anything at his house?
No. I know. This is a separate issue completely. It just happened to happen on the same day.
Okay.
I'm worried. I had to sneak out of the courthouse. I shouldn't say sneak. I didn't.
Whoa. Did she just say I have to sneak out or sneak him out of the courthouse? Let's back that up real quick. And then it looks like she said, oops, I don't think I should have said sneak out.
same day.
Okay.
I'm worried. I had to sneak out of the courthouse. I shouldn't say sneak. I didn't sneak. I had to leave tickets out of the courthouse because I didn't take my usual route because they were sitting out in front.
Okay.
And I went in, the courthouse, they have the tunnel underneath, and when I went in.
Yeah.
So I went up to the 7th floor, took the service elevator down, where inmates are taken up and down. Nobody can use it unless you have a badge. And what I'm worried about is just the whackers that will believe this story, which is not true.
So again, Judge Hannah Dugan, what she's doing here, she's trying to either discredit or to say that the radio host who talked about this story, talking about how she helped conceal the illegal immigrant, walked him out the back room, stuff like that. What she's saying on camera to the police officer is she's straight up saying none of that is true. But now we have access to all of the footage and some other records, and many people are saying, hold on, it looks to be true. And this is why we are going into the trial, because it looks like there's enough evidence or probable cause to push on with the trial.
I'm not being investigated by the feds. The FBI was not there. ICE was there. I directed them down the hall to the administrative.
So again, I don't know if Judge Hannah Dugan is lying or she just didn't know that the FBI was actually there. We'll see here in a second, later in the video, court documents say, or a court complaint against Judge Hannah Dugan is that the FBI was waiting outside of the courthouse along with Homeland Security.
Offices. What happened after that is their business. I did not hide this migrant in the jury room or in my chambers. I had him leave out the back door, which I do when the circumstances warrant it. And these are the circumstances that warrant it. I had a room of 30...
So this is also interesting. She says the circumstances warranted it. I don't know what she means by that. I don't have any other comparisons as to when she's ever had to move somebody out the back door, but she's saying the circumstances warranted it. Now, I think what everybody's minds go to is that, hold on, does the circumstance warrant it because there were Homeland Security officers in the hallway? That's where my mind is going.
People. And I just sent them out the door with the public defender. We got date off the record, like 10 other cases I did that day, getting dates off the record because I didn't need to go on the record for the next status date. So I didn't treat him in terms of calling the case or anything. I didn't treat him any differently. In fact, I shouldn't say I didn't treat him any differently. The interpreter wasn't there. So we weren't going to wait for an interpreter to get a date off the record.
Okay, so a lot of this is starting to make sense. Remember, the argument from Judge Hannah Dugan's defense team is that Judge Hannah Dugan has been acting within her right and her role as a judge. That is why they were initially just trying to get rid of the case and just say, we're not going to go to trial because a judge can do this and she's protected under the law. And it looks like even with this footage, before Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested, she's sort of saying the same thing, that this is normal. She's not going to wait for the interpreter. Then he was, dismissed. But what's put into question is when you correlate what she's saying and you correlate with all of the events that happen in the hallway, many people are scratching their heads, to include the FBI. Everything seems to be a little too put in place or a little too perfect. When the ICE agents left the hallway, then all of a sudden the illegal immigrant's trial was dismissed and then he walked out a back door. And we can review the clip now that you know her side of the story.
In fact, the federal complaint against Dugan says FBI and ICE agents were outside her courtroom. They say they plan to arrest Eduardo Flores-Ruiz, who is in state court for charges of domestic abuse. Federal prosecutors say she brought him through a non-public jury door.
I did not hide this migrant in the jury room or in my chambers. I had him leave out the back door, which I do when the circumstances warrant it.
Back in May, Dugan's legal team asked a federal judge to throw out the case. Tuesday, federal judge Lynn Edelman sided with the federal government. He says history reveals the government has the better argument. Dugan's defense argues she has judicial immunity, meaning she's protected from prosecution for her official actions as a judge. But the federal government says that immunity only applies to civil lawsuits and does not shield judges from criminal prosecution.
Which is why nowadays you don't see anyone getting in the way of Homeland Security or the FBI or any federal security services. No one gets in their way if they ever show up to a courthouse. After what happened to Judge Hannah Dugan, I suspect suspect people are really just trying to get out of the way, especially in a public hallway. Now, Judge Hannah Dugan does control her courtroom, but that's not what's put into question. It's the public hallway in which we keep seeing Homeland Security have access to, legally have access to.
Shows Judge Dugan purposely sending the agents to the Chief Justice's office to lead them away from Flores-Ruiz. Court documents say she told Flores-Ruiz and his attorney to use a courtroom door that is in an area that is not open to the public after she learned that the ICE agents were there to nab him. The FBI charging document says this, quote, Judge Dugan became visibly angry, commented that the situation was absurd. The courtroom deputy then saw Judge Dugan get up and heard Judge Dugan say something like, wait, come with me, and directed them to leave through that jury door. Flores-Ruiz then walked out of the courthouse and is seen running on camera about a block away before he was eventually arrested by ICE.
In the body cam footage, Judge Hannah Dugan also seems to be a little frustrated about what was happening in the courtroom. Now, to her, the reason why she seemed frustrated is because she didn't want to sit there and wait for an interpreter. She also even mentioned she didn't even get to the other cases she had scheduled, so from her perspective, this is what she seems to be frustrated with. From the other perspective, the federal government, she seems to be frustrated that Homeland Security was in the hallway.
So how much leeway do judges have to personally circumvent the law when they disagree with it?
Well, they have no leeway to break the law. Judges are held to the same standard that any other American is. I think what's particularly disturbing about this case is, to your point, judges take a sacred, solemn oath to uphold the law. And what this new video shows is apparently the judge engaging in a scheme to frustrate the execution of the law, to obstruct ICE agents from executing this warrant. So she may be a judge, but based on what we've seen on the video, she was acting in a very unjudicial capacity in that she was trying to thwart execution of rather than uphold the law of the United States.
Just a quick reminder, Judge Hannah Dugan was not arrested on an accusation or an assumption. The FBI, DOJ, Pam Bondi, they already had access to the footage that we currently have access to as well. They had it before us, which is why they felt confident to arrest Judge Hannah Dugan. Now, when we backtrack and look into what Judge Hannah Dugan is saying, to her, she claimed there was no investigation, none of this is true. So this is why, again, it can seem like a little bit of a conflicting story, but now we have access to the footage. It's being reported we were never supposed to have access to it, but I do want to say the general perception to what we're seeing with the footage seems to really line up with how the FBI feels. A lot of people are saying, look, according to the footage we're all watching, things look a little too sketchy, which is why we are moving on with the trial.
What about the counter argument that, I guess, this is all new, right? These policies, sending ICE agents to the courthouses, everybody's sort of getting used to it, and no real protocols have been established yet for how anyone is supposed to handle any of that stuff. Does that carry any water?
I don't think it will carry a lot of water here. Judges may personally disagree with presidential policies. They may not like the way that the law is being carried out. They may not like these new policies, but that doesn't give them an excuse to try to thwart and obstruct federal agents from doing their jobs. Judges certainly can write opinions and express views of the law that are at odds with what the president says, but they can't take the law into their own hands. And just as a judge couldn't claim that they're judicially immune if they went out and robbed a bank, judges can't say that they're judicially immune if they do something that's outside of the role of being a judge, such as trying to help someone escape the clutches of federal agents who are just trying to enforce the law.
So here's from the judge's filing. She wants the case to be thrown out, dismissed, May 14th. This is what her lawyers write. The government's prosecution of Judge Dugan is virtually unprecedented, entirely unconstitutional. It violates the 10th Amendment and fundamental principles of federalism and comity reflected in that amendment and in the very structure of the U.S. Constitution.
And now we are officially moving on with the trial, and I do think more mainstream media will pick up on this case. Again, I keep sending this warning out there. You need to be paying attention to this, because if Judge Hannah Dugan wins, she literally changes everyone else's courthouse and rules. This will mean that a judge will have a broader jurisdiction and can facilitate what happens in a public hallway. And this is not only with illegal immigrants, this could be with somebody you know in town town that you know is not the greatest person, but if the judge knows that person, they can facilitate, move everybody out of the hallway, and they can really get a little more protection. So I'm just trying to say there are some broader implications here than just protecting illegal immigrants. It goes beyond that, even affecting American citizens. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We've been covering this since day one, so make sure you guys please like the video. Make sure you guys please subscribe so I can keep you guys up to date with this. Thank you again for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later.